It's pretty wild when you think about it. Most of us spend our entire lives working for money, chasing money, worrying about it, but we never really learn how the whole system actually works. I'm not talking about the version you see in textbooks. I mean the real, invisible system that's running in the background, quietly shaping our financial lives. So, let's get into it.
I want you to imagine you've been dropped into a high-stakes game. Your entire life, you've been playing this game, but here's the catch. Nobody ever gave you the rule book. Well, that's pretty much what's happening with your finances. And the rules? They were written by the people who win the most when you don't know them. So let's pull back that curtain. I'm going to show you exactly how this game is really being played. All right, so let's start at square one. The very first illusion we have to shatter is our most basic idea of what money even is. Because whatever you think it is, well, it's probably not that. So what is money? I mean, really, is it the paper in your wallet, the numbers on your banking app? Well, not really. At its absolute core, modern money is just trust. It's a collective story we all agree to believe in. This dollar bill, this pound, this euro, it has zero value on its own. It's just paper and ink. Its only power comes from the fact that we all collectively agree it has power. A belief that, as you're about to see, is way more fragile than you might think. This right here, this is a game-changing distinction. When you get paid, you're not actually receiving wealth. You're getting a claim check for wealth. It's just a token, a promise from society that says you can trade this for real stuff later. And that's the scary part, right? Because if enough people suddenly stop believing in that promise, the value of those claim checks just evaporates.
So why on earth isn't this stuff common knowledge? Well, that's not an accident. For centuries, the world of finance has been deliberately wrapped up in confusing jargon and complexity. It's made to feel like this mystical art that only geniuses can understand. And there's a reason for that. Because when you're struggling to get by, you don't question the rules of the game. You just blame yourself for being a bad player. And that is absolutely by design. Okay, so if money is just a promise, a form of trust, who's actually making it? And where does it come from? This is where things start to get really wild. We have to look at the engine room of the whole financial world, the machine that literally creates the money we use. And you might be surprised to find out that the secret ingredient is debt. The entire modern banking system is built on something called fractional reserve banking. Now, don't let the fancy name scare you off. The idea itself is actually pretty simple. When you deposit your money in a bank, they don't just stick it in a vault. Nope. By law, they only have to keep a tiny fraction of it. That's the reserve. And they're free to lend out all the rest. So how does this actually create money? Let's just walk through it. Say you deposit $10,000 into your bank account. The bank holds on to 1,000 of that, the 10% reserve. Then it lends out the other $9,000. And here's the magic trick. That $9,000 is brand new money. It was literally created out of thin air as a digital entry on a computer. Then the person who borrowed it goes and deposits it in their bank. And the whole cycle starts all over again. That bank keeps 10%, $900, and lends out $8,100 new dollars. This process repeats over and over, creating this huge cascade of new money. And every single dollar of it is born as someone else's debt. And this right here reveals the system's biggest, most fundamental flaw. It's a mathematical certainty. For every single dollar that's created as a loan, more debt is created in the form of interest. So let's say a bank creates $1 million with a new loan. Great. The economy now has $1 million new dollars floating around. But the borrower owes the bank back the $1 million plus interest, let's say $50,000. So where is that extra 50 grand supposed to come from? It doesn't exist yet. It has to be created from another loan with its own interest. This means the system requires constant, never-ending growth and more debt just to keep from collapsing. That's not a bug. It's the central feature.
Okay, I know what you're probably thinking right now. This sounds completely insane. I'll just opt out. I won't play. I won't take on any debt. But it's just not that simple. See, the system has these incredibly powerful psychological traps built into it, and they're all designed to keep you playing the game exactly the way they want you to.
I mean, think about it like this. Debt is basically a time machine. It lets you pull your future earnings into the present moment. You get to have that shiny new car, that amazing vacation, that brand new phone right now. You get the dopamine hit of feeling wealthy today. The only catch? Well, you're literally selling off pieces of your future to pay for it. And the system is a master at using this against you. First, there's status signaling. We're encouraged to buy expensive things to prove to everyone that we've made it. Then there's engineered desire. Billions are spent on ads and social media to train you to want things you don't even need. And once you're in debt, you're trapped. You become predictable. You can't just quit that soul-crushing job or take a risk on your own idea. You become a controllable cog in the machine, all while they drain you with fees through financial products that are intentionally designed to be as confusing as possible. And the results of all these traps, they are absolutely staggering. If you look at an individual level, the average household in America is carrying over $154,000 in debt. This isn't some abstract theory, it is the daily reality for millions and millions of families.
And that's just what's happening in our homes. When you zoom out and look at the national level, the numbers just become impossible to even comprehend. The U.S. national debt is now north of $37 trillion. It's proof that the entire system, from your credit card all the way up to the federal government, is built on a massive, ever-growing mountain of debt.
But here's the twist, and honestly, this might be the most important part of this entire explainer. While most of us are being trapped by this system, there's a small group of people who are using the exact same tool, debt, to become incredibly wealthy. They're not even playing the same game. They have a different rulebook.
Look, here's the bottom line. It all comes down to this. The vast majority of people borrow money to consume. They buy things that lose value, like cars, or experiences that are gone in an instant, like vacations. So their debt goes up, but their assets either stay the same or more likely go down. But the wealthy, they borrow to invest. They use debt to buy things that go up in value, things like real estate, businesses, or stocks. Their assets actually grow faster than their debt does. It's the exact same tool, but depending on which set of rules you're following, it leads to two totally opposite outcomes. For one, enslavement. For the other, enrichment.
So, after hearing all this, where does that leave you? I mean, knowing all this doesn't magically fix the system overnight, but it's the absolute most critical first step, because knowledge gives you the power to change how you play the game. And this, right here, might be the most valuable thing you take away today. Let go of the shame. Seriously, stop blaming yourself. You're not bad with money. You were just playing a rigged game without knowing the rules. Realizing that isn't making an excuse. It's the first step to taking your power back. See, once you stop blaming yourself, you can actually start making different choices. You can consciously decide to opt out of the consumer rat race. You can decide you don't need to buy things you can't afford just to signal wealth you don't have. You can't escape the system completely. Nobody can, but you can choose to play on your own terms. And you can start building a life where your money finally starts serving you instead of the other way around. So the question isn't, how does the game work anymore? You know that now. The real question is, now that you know the rules, what's your next move?